Welcome to the Redvee TV Show, supported by Chapel House for the 2023 season. And on this week's show, we look ahead to Mr. Roby's record-breaking game, Salford and the challenge they pose, a little bit of modelling.
Oh dear. Not me, don't panic.
And a couple of other little bits to discuss. This week, joined by Mr. Elder. And we can't mention that you're in Scotland because somebody might get a cob on the comments on YouTube. Oh, you've had to put a top on as well.
Yes, Saltire Saints. Very nice.
How are you, Peter? It's been a few weeks since we've had a chat.
Yes, and since then, we'll get the football chat out of the way early. Both our teams have picked up some good results. So yeah, it's nice to. Well, at least one of our teams is doing not too badly. We'll get onto that, I dare say. But yeah, not too bad, man. Not too bad. There's no panic. You know what I mean? No panic about this yet.
So the big one to discuss this week, Peter, we can only start in one place. Mr. Roby, 532 games should he play on Saturday. He'll break the St. Helens all-time appearance record. We will have a 65-foot-long banner proclaiming him to be the greatest of all time in a Saints jersey. Is that fair comment?
Now, that is a heck of a question. I think there's different generations of Saints fans would give you a different answer. I think that's probably the fairest way to say it. In terms of, Super League era, I think he's got to be up there with Kieran. Obviously, Kieran's had the statue, but a lot of people maybe his reputation perhaps tainted by his spell as head coach, but whether that's fair, I don't know. But as a player, Robes has got to be up there. He's had more appearances. I need to check, actually. Is he perhaps one more than Kieran? That's worth checking out. But if not, he's on a par with him at least. I think it'd be difficult to argue a case that he's not. And certainly in the modern era, the very, very best for longevity, for consistency of top-class performances week in, week out, for putting his body on the line, for leadership, just for everything that embodies not just Saints as a club, St Helens as a town, and rugby league as a sport. It's just everything about him is everything that's good about rugby league, to the extent that I think even supporters of other clubs who are perhaps big rivals of Saints would have a lot of good things to say about him and have full respect for him. He's up there with the modern day greats. People talk about your likes of your Kevin Sinfields, for example. Even though he broke our hearts many times at Leeds, we can look at him and say, yeah, he was a wonderful player, a legend of the game, and Robes deserves to be up there on a par, perhaps even head and shoulders slightly above them. It's been a genuine pleasure watching him play, from coming through as a fresh-faced, full head of hair youngster buzzing around to the kind of chiseled veteran with more than one or two knocks to the face and the body. John Wilkin, on one of his podcasts, he described his body as being like a melted candle. I dare say Robes isn't far off that either. But what he's given to the club, to the fans, to the town, it's difficult really to find anything negative to say about him. He's I think in terms of his position in the field, I don't think anyone will surpass that in Super League for decades to come, if ever.
I think very early on there, you said, when I posed the question about it, is he the greatest of all time? And you said it'll be different for different generations.
Yeah.
Now, the point I would point out there is there's at least a couple of generations of Saints fans who will see him as the best. 20 years to play at the highest level, at the level of consistency, essentially the best hooker in Super League for the vast majority of that time. He's got to be up there in terms of as a Saint. I don't think it's a record that'll ever be surpassed. Obviously, Kel Coslet on 531 games has held the record since 1976. 47 years? Given how the game has changed, I don't think it'll ever be surpassed. I think James Roby will get this record will add to it between now and the end of the season.
Yeah.
And that's the record done and dusted forever.
Yeah, it'll set a record that no one will be able to match. I dare say, poor old Kel Coslet probably thought he'd done that back in the days when I was just a nipper. But you know, it's along came James Roby. You know, it's incredible. In the position that he plays, you could see like a winger doing that who doesn't have getting involved in as many collisions per game as the likes of Robes does. But the amount of tackles that this guy puts in, the amount of carries, the amount of times that he takes hits everywhere and that he dishes hard tackles out, it makes it even all the more remarkable that he's still got the energy and the enthusiasm, you know, and to be bothered to be able to do it at his age at this level. I mean, if he was still playing and he was playing in, you know, 2 leagues down, people would still say that's great. You know, he's still playing. But to be playing, as you say, at Super League, to be a world champion is no one will do that. I'd be amazed if anyone came within 100 games of him, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Obviously, about a month or 6 weeks ago, we did launch fundraising for the banner that will be on display on Saturday before the game, as the teams come out. We've raised a significant amount more than needed to get the banner made. We will be making a charitable donation to a charity of James' choice. We will update in the next week or so with a final figure on that. Just like to thank everybody who chipped in, whether it be £1, £5, £10, or a little bit more. Completely overwhelmed by the amount of people who wanted to chip in. And I have to say, I have had the banner unfurled across my driveway. It is huge. I just had to check that it was all spelled correctly.
Tell people you've got a massive house without telling people you've got a massive house, eh, Dave?
To be fair, it's a shared driveway, but it's huge, and it looks beautiful. It truly does. Really good project. So thank you to everyone, and
well done, everyone.
Hopefully, it will be seen live on Channel 4 on Saturday, Peter. Yes. I don't think anybody deserves the record-breaking game to be on national television more than James.
Oh, absolutely. And I think obviously having a former teammate who'll be on duty, obviously Kylie Moore will be there, and I dare say he'll be waxing lyrical about his former teammate. Dare say maybe one or two interesting stories that he might be able to tell on national TV as well, hopefully. But yeah, Channel 4 coverage is fantastic. I wish they had more games, perhaps even like a regular highlight show as well. Because their coverage, anytime I've watched any game, has been absolutely fantastic. So yeah, it'd be great that, you know, hopefully lots of people will be tuning in at 1 o'clock on Saturday to see Robes get the welcome onto the field and the welcome from the fans that he no doubt will get. And I'm really looking forward to seeing it myself, and hopefully the Robes and the boys can put on a performance worthy of this particular king having a well-deserved coronation.
Yeah, as you can see in the image that side, tickets are still available. It is a game that you want to be at. If you want to honour such a legend. And Saints, I believe, will commemorate it in a number of different ways, both before match and at the end of the game. So it's worth sticking about at the end of the game. I'm sure more details will be announced by the club in due course before Saturday. So yeah, get there early, commemorate a legend, and hopefully we will bring home 2 points being led by our illustrious captain. And Peter, the squad has been announced for this week. Couple of names dropping out. Conrad Harrell being the main one.
Yeah, there's been a bit of speculation on the forums and on social media about whether he'd been dropped or whether he was injured or an HIA. But I think maybe a couple of stages over the last couple of games, he's looked like he's maybe been playing with an injury or not been quite 100%. So perhaps it's an opportunity with Ben Davis being fit and having had a successful run out for Swinton last week to come back in and play on the right-sided centre. Obviously, he's a very different player to Connie. But I think it's good to have him back, and hopefully Cyril will be fit this week as well. I think we missed him, I think particularly defensively last week. I think, our left edge was kind of exposed a few times last week. And I think a lot of that, and perhaps I think a lot of the problems in general this season have been you've not had consistency of selection. If we can have 4 or 5 weeks with like the same partnerships all over the field, your left centre, left wing, your half-backs, your kind of your back row and your inside, your centre outside them. When you get the partnerships where everything clicks and people automatically know where their colleagues going to be, so that you can link up without having to look, and it's all second nature. I think you'll see the form improve, and I think you'll see the results improve as well. So it's good to have those guys back. Hopefully, Iggy, Sione, and Knowles will be back next week for Halifax, whether they play them in a cup tie, but it'd be good to get them a run out. So when those guys are back, you'll certainly see a much improved and a much kind of more better gelled looking Saints team, and a Saints team that will start to push up the table.
Yeah, I don't think, I'm fairly certain that Connie's not been dropped for discipline, because in that case, I don't think certain members of our squad would ever see the pitch ever again. If that's the route we're going down in terms of punishments. It was stupid what he's done, but you wouldn't leave out the attacking threat that you gained from Connie, which he's shown in the recent weeks for what he did. I'm sure he'll learn his lesson from it. Silly frustration. But yeah, he must be carrying an injury. Interesting to think that you think Ben Davies will come straight in. I know it's interesting that they've used him on the image, which usually means that they're going to get a game this week. But with John Bennison being 18th man last week and being unfortunate to miss out, I wonder whether he comes in and plays on the wing and you move Tommy inside him, assuming Tommy's fit as well, because obviously looks like he's still carrying a knock. So you could end up with a new partnership on the outside with Ben Davies inside of John Bennison as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think, all things being equal, if we assume that all 21 guys are fit, I mean, my personal preference would be Tommy playing right wing, because I believe that's where he's most comfortable when he plays best. Whether it was an injury he was carrying last week, it didn't really click with him and Hopper on the left edge, and either in attack or defence. Personally, if I was going kind of like 3/4 line of Bennison left wing, Hopewati, Davis, Tommy Mack, I don't think T. Ritson's necessarily done a massive amount wrong, but I think that with who we have available is for me the best and the best suited backline that we have, and I think we need to look at it that way. We need to play the right players in the right positions. And I think, as you say, Benno was unlucky to be dropped, and we moved Tommy to accommodate T. Ritson on the right wing. But I'd like to see, what I mentioned there, with obviously your usual full-back, half-backs, and you bring Cyril in at second row in place of Sam Royal would be my starting 13 for Saturday lunchtime. Yeah,
I think Sam Royal will end up as 18th man this week. I think Wes Bruins, Dan Norman miss out, and then one of Davis and Bennison, assuming everyone else is fit.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's everyone can make a different case for having different partnerships. I mean, we might end up having Tommy at centre, but I don't know. It's helping his form necessarily. Having him right wing one week, left wing the next week, centre the week after.
I look at Tommy at the moment, and I know he missed out through injury after the Wigan game. I still don't think he looks fully fit. I think I think there's a lot of players who look like they're carrying knocks. Lewis Dodd, if you believe what you read, is still carrying a bit of an injury, which probably isn't helping. And that's where we're struggling. And do you know what? I think this week will prove a real test for us. Obviously, listen, we lose at Catalan every year, rightly or wrongly. But we're playing a Salford side coming off the back of 4 straight victories, beating Lee, Castleford, Catalan at home as well, and then Leeds last week. It's not going to be an easy game, is it?
No, not at all. I mean, Salford are a team that, you know, if you admire another team that's not your own team, I do enjoy watching them play, because 8 times out of 10, they're very entertaining to watch. They've had a couple of kind of shockers this year. One of their, I think their first home game, they played against Hull KR and were a bit off. They were lucky in their home game against Wakefield to beat that. And as we're discovering, Wakefield can't even beat sleep. But as you say, Salford also.
Well, as we discussed this, Wakefield have scored a try.
I've just noticed that there, yeah, and someone's bet needs a wee boost. Obviously, from Hull FC, but we won't go into detail. Salford, they also stuck 60 in Hull. They beat Leeds very well last week. They're a team that, if they click, they are a heck of a team to play against. They're not just a flash Harry team throwing it around, scoring wonder tries. They've got guys that will do the hard yards up the middle to give. Your Andy Ackers, who's a hooker I really like. Your Mark Sneed, your Brodie Croft, giving these guys the time and space to play. They do the hard yards, but they can score tries from anywhere. They're obviously missing Ken Seo, who I think has managed to climb out that hole. Hopefully he's managed to find his way out. And he's not, seriously, hopefully he's not injured for too long, because he is a great player on his day. But we're at home. Our last home game, the boys put in their best performance of the season by a country mile. Coming off the disappointment of Catalan last week, not the first time this season where it's all kind of gone wrong for us in the second half. Maybe the people that carry injuries, that's when it starts to affect them, when, putting in a lot of effort, and then second half, too many people carrying injuries, that's when it kicks in. But should be a good game, actually. Yeah, because the semi-final was an incredibly tough game last year as well. So
I think there's no guarantees. There's a fine balance. There's a fine balance in our players, and obviously we did move the ball about against Warrington to great effect and look good in attack. But you can also take that too far to the extreme, where against Catalan we seem to be looking for the Hollywood ball at all times. And we didn't gain the right to play and get ourselves in good field position before we were doing. And some of the passes we were swinging out 20 yards, 20 metres from our own line were absolutely horrific. There needs to be a lot more discipline there, both in terms of, I think Kev discussed it on the fan reaction, in terms of discipline, in terms of tackling, attitude, behaviours, but also in just doing the basics.
I think a lot of, you mentioned there about a lot of the stuff we did last week with the ball in hand. It was the decision making at times, with respect to the guys who've been fantastic for 4 or 5 years. A lot of them, it left a lot to be desired. Some as you say, some strange passes. Twice we kind of blew opportunities. For me, the whole turning point of the match was we're 12-0 up and we were in our third set in a row in their 20, and we throw a wild pass out to T. Ritson. It goes into touch. They scored. I think they got a penalty off the next set and then scored off it.
If that pass sticks, Peter, as well, we go 18-0 up. You'd like to think that the game's done and dusted and we go on and win comfortably.
Well, exactly, and that's why it was such a pivotal moment. That was just decision making, and I think we've got to trust that these guys they've got more decisions right over the past 4 or 5 years than they've got wrong. You're going to hit times where they hit some disappointing form. I mean, you look at like Jack Lewis; they've been fantastic. Lewis obviously had a bad injury, and he's been getting a lot of stick off for some Saints fans, and we like to see players playing well and in good form, but he's still a young guy, and nothing's been decided about any NRL move. I think we need to remember that he's still doing his best in the Saints jersey. He's a young guy. He's going to hit dips in form. The same with Jack. We know they're great players. They're going to have games where it just doesn't go for them. Even the experienced guys like Johnny Robes, they're going to have games where they're not at it. But form is temporary, class is permanent. I believe we'll come back business end of the season. We'll be there or thereabouts when the honours are handed out. So, it's disappointing at the moment. We know the guys can do better. Saturday will be a real good test for us. If we can come through it and then get the win at Halifax, suddenly you're looking right. We're through the last stages of the cup. We're top 6 of the league. We've got a game in hand, remember, as well. So we've still got opportunities to claw a lot of things back. But last week was disappointing, and we had it in our hands to, even in the start of the second half when they kicked the penalty 14-12, they dropped the ball off the restart, and then we're going through another silly pass out to Tommy that gets into touch. When if we score again, perhaps that quells any comeback from Catalan, and we maybe get out on top again. It's all ifs, buts and maybes, but these things, we're not making the crucial decisions as crisp with the same clarity of thought that we have been doing. This served us so well over the past few years, but I believe it will come back, hopefully starting on Saturday.
Fingers crossed. Right, we will get on to predictions right at the end. But before the game, Chapel House, proud supporters of Redvee for the 2023 season, will be outside of the ground before the game, outside the stadium. They will have a number of their cars on display, and if you come over and have a chat, you will have the opportunity of winning a signed Saints shirt, I believe. Me and Kev will be there with the cars and the guys from Chapel House for a chat if you want to come over. And hopefully you might have the chance of winning that Saints jersey. And if not, at least you'll get to talk to Kev.
Well, there you go. It's obviously
that's the consolation prize.
Well, there we go. There we go. I mean, what more do you want? You see some the sponsor of Redvee promoting themselves, promoting Redvee as well on display Saturday afternoon. Lovely day, hopefully, and obviously two of the finest models, they're wonderful vehicles I've ever seen draped over them, and that'll be an absolute joy and a treat for everyone that's there. And obviously, it's good of them to put up a signed jersey. That's a great price. So get down early, folks. Get down early.
And before anybody asks, no, you can't lock me in the boot.
I'm sure that thought hadn't crossed anyone's mind.
Absolutely not. maybe running me over myself, but there we go. Right. Next up, a bit more serious matters. Saints Community Foundation on the 7th of July will be doing a sponsored walk to Warrington ahead of the Warrington v Saints game. If anybody would like to get involved with the charitable foundation, the community foundation, and St. Helens Mind, you can email mike.webster@saintsrlfc.com. Great work done by both organisations. Anybody who'd like to get involved or donate or sponsor anybody doing the walk, I'm sure they will greatly appreciate.
Yeah, so it's obviously a wonderful cause. It's people more and more these days are being open and talking about their own mental health. I'm not ashamed that I've had my own mental health issues previously. I'm still keeping an eye on it to make sure I'm doing the right things and talking to people. So it's very, very important that if you are in a bad place, you get someone to talk to. There's people that can help you. There's friends, there's family. Other fellow Saints fans will be there. We're a good community. We'll help it. We'll help any of our own without any doubt. And this cause is great. And I hope as many people can get along and either take part or support it financially. So that's good work, everyone. And hopefully it goes very, very well.
And then lastly, Saints have teased Play Up St. Helens on the Twitter feed. No mention of what it's about yet, but you'd have to think with Magic coming up in a few weeks, could it be related to a Magic jersey?
It's very possible, isn't it? Or maybe it's a Kev Pender tribute for his Burnley attire that he likes to be wearing, allegedly.
Yes. We'll have many fans celebrating Burnley's promotion back to the Premier League with Burnley colours. If anybody doesn't know what we're on about, Kev got a load of stick for wearing that in the last few weeks.
I know why you're smiling.
Peter knows why I'm smiling, and it's not because of anything we're talking about here. It's because we're watching the Hull FC game in the background. There's still time for Hull FC to cock up, don't worry. But yeah, Magic jersey on the way. I wonder whether they will go very traditional in terms of heritage retro type kit, or will they try and blend it with maybe like the jigsaw that they've done in recent years? Obviously, we promote the autism charity.
Yeah.
And the cause when it comes to Magic. So a bit of a mashup on the way. We will wait and see.
Yeah, I think a heritage jersey of some description would be lovely. I mean, all fans love that. You know, obviously the Redvee is famous the world over, but obviously colours from Saints eras of years gone by would be, you know, it would be good to see something a little bit different, and that also perhaps, you know, nods towards the autism charity as well. So, you know, the next week or so, I know a few clubs have released their jersey, and as a Scotsman and a Scottish rugby union fan, not to praise Leeds Rhinos too much, but theirs is obviously using the Doddy Weir tartan. So fair play to Leeds. I tip my hat to them. It's a wonderful jersey. If it didn't have the Leeds Rhinos badge on it, I might have made a purchase. But fair play to them. Obviously, I love it because obviously Doddy was a real character as well. So I'm very, very pleased to see that. So fair play, Leeds. You've got my full respect for that. But yeah, hopefully Saints will have something suitably nice and decent in the next few weeks. I can't wait to see it.
3 days. Right, Peter. It would be remiss for me not to ask for your prediction ahead of Saturday.
This is a tricky one, isn't it? I probably know what yours is going to be because it's probably the same every week. I'm not going to come on here and predict a Saints defeat. I'm going to say Saints by 7 with Lewis Dodd to clinch it with a 1-pointer near the end just to settle the nerves.
Okay, I am going to go Saints by 10.
I think if either of us are right, we'll be happy with that.
Yeah, let's not take Saints by a last-minute drop goal, if I could.
Well, I'm not sure the nerves could handle that. Having said that, though, we think back now, scarily, almost 6 years to our mutual friend, Mr. Price, and the Matty Smith is all I need to say.
Yes.
And as one intrepid Saints fan mentioned on the instant fan reaction that night, you may remember, never in doubt.
Never in doubt.
So we'll see what happens on Saturday. Hopefully not as testing on the nerves, but if any win against this Salford team would be considered a very good win as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Right, Peter. Thank you very much for joining us. Always
my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And hopefully we will see you back down here very, very soon.
Yes.
When the trains decide they want to start properly.
Yeah, well, I was hoping to come down on Saturday, but there's a strike going on, so it's replacement buses. The earliest I can get down is like 1:30, and it's like, goodness sake, man, you know what I mean? I could probably leave early in the morning and walk down and be there before then, but we'll see. If not Magic, then Wigan on the 9th of June.
Happy days.
But then again, what happened at Magic last time?
Hey Peter, listen, if you want to walk from Motherwell to St Helens for St Helens Mind, I will sponsor you a $5.
Oh, a $5, and they say Scots people are tight. My goodness, Dave, come on, that's shocking. A $5.
I know. Right, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We will catch you after the game on Saturday for the instant reaction, but we will also see you hopefully pre-game as we model the lovely cars on display.
Yes, and thank you, Chapel House, once again.
Catch you soon.